Hey, my friend, it's Randy, your host of Building Wins Live, and it is Memorial Weekend. Can you believe we're almost there? That is the unofficial start of summer. And today we're gonna, first thank you for joining because you're gonna enjoy today's show. I hope you enjoy them all. But my pal, my buddy, my friend, my director, producer, what else is he? Bodyguard at times when we end up at the Agave in Troy, Ohio, where we was at. But anyways, Wes and I are going to do some chat, and we just was talking pre-show, and man, we got just a lot of brilliance. Of course, and maybe it's only in our mind, but it's some brilliance anyway. But before I forget at the end, because I may, as Wes and I get going, remember to have a great, safe, awesome Memorial Day weekend, and don't forget what this is really about. Let's do the barbecue and the golfing and the swimming and all the fun stuff. But I think about it often as I get to do what I love and love what I do. I talk about that a lot. And I realize that a whole lot of people since the beginning of the United States gave up their lives for me to be able to do what I love and love what I do. And I think that's one thing we just don't let it slip by and not pay some respect, whether it's in person or in our mind, in our heart, whatever. But anyways, that's it. We will be right back with my friend, my buddy, my pal, Wes Wyatt. Are you kidding me? Here we are again.
Hey, what's up? The big Randu.
The Wesley Wyatt himself, the legend, the myth.
The something.
This, we're not really sure. It's a family show. We can't say everything, but
it's always awesome to be a guest on Building Wins, and I am so glad that I am someone that can slip into the spot whenever we have a guest that for whatever reason can't be on.
Yeah, well, and it's much well said, but I'm going to say this, and I asked you before show when we were doing a little pre-show. You're more than a guest because I know you run. From everybody probably knows by now that you do all the magic behind the scenes. But you're every bit as much of a host today as I. So I appreciate you being here and all you do. I may just go take a break and come back when you're done. Who knows? You never know. If I walk off, don't just cut me off and go full screen, and we'll just move on.
The way I talk sometimes, Randy, I think you could just leave and go, take Dix to a dinner and come back, and I'd probably still be talking.
You'll still be going. Well, I know that's I posted a post earlier this week, something to the effect, I should have had it up, but I don't. Hey, buddy, there's Barry Brocksterman. It's good to see you, my friend.
Hey, Barry.
I was walking around the house feeling a little cocky, I guess, and Dixie says something like, "You don't need a fan club. You're your own fan club," and
yeah.
And which made me think about the fact, and as I posted, is I think that's true though. I don't think that's the way she meant it, but it is true that if you're not your own fan first, how can you win friends and influence people, right? As our great friend Dale Carnegie or Carnegie. I'm never sure. I've heard it both ways, but we'll go with Carnegie. But yeah. So anyway, my point is, she does think I talk a lot. She said this is. It was a matter of fact, the Dixie chick and my favorite ex-wife. We should have a hashtag for that too. Hashtag favorite ex-wife. But she watches this show sometimes. She'll never comment, but and she knows she's my favorite ex-wife, and she's Dixie's good friend too, and we're just all buddies. It's weird, but anyway, she has told me before. She says, "You've talked since I've known you, which we dated in high school." She says, "It's finally glad you finally found something." There it is. She said, "I'm just glad for you that you finally found something to do to amuse yourself because you can't ever shut up."
That's good stuff. Yeah. Well, if you're not your biggest fan, who's going to be? I think that it's kind of like the analogy that we always talk about of if you're on a plane and it starts to go down and the oxygen masks drop, you have to put yours on first. Exactly. So, and as you are probably more than aware, I'm going to give a absolute shameless plug for brand yourself first, market yourself first, whatever the heck I call my my podcast.
Pop it up.
Yeah. Boy, do I have I don't even know if I have a thing for it. It's okay, but it's market you first is what it
Market
is,
first.
and just that. You really need to be your biggest fan, because if you're not, how are you going to expect other people to be one?
Exactly. Exactly. I think you're 100% on it. I don't think if it's meant from the right way, we all know some people that probably take that a little too far or differently. But if it comes from the standpoint of just believing in yourself, and which is a post I did this morning about being a believer, right? I'm a believer by the monkeys. Uh, if you're not a believer in yourself, why would anybody else ever believe you, right? At the end of the day, because you won't come across as a believer.
Well, it's kind of funny too, Randy. We were talking earlier, in the pre-show, and this is something that it's a humble brag, guys. But I think Randy and I could probably sit at a table and with the right libations and snacks, as long as we had bathroom breaks, I think we could go until somebody just told us to leave, and never cover the same topic. And the reason why is because there's so many things out there to share with people and to tell, that we talk about this on previous broadcasts, and I know we've talked about it privately, but I'm a big fan of Miles Monroe, and one of the things that Miles Monroe always said was to die empty. You should never go to the grave. That's the richest place in the world, is the graveyard, because that's all the places that people didn't give the songs that they had in their heart, and the I love yous to people, and all the different things. Your job in this world is to find your gift and then give it away. You should die empty. And so that's why we run our mouths, guys. It's not because we like to hear ourselves talk. It's because we know that there's something in these babblings that even if it's only a couple points, you're going to get something that's going to help you build wins. And that is, at the end of the day, the quintessential thing that we're trying to do is help you build wins.
Oh, well said. And that the name of the show, Building Wins, is I've mentioned it before to people, but the key to the building wins, a lot of guys will think maybe that, well, Randy, you're all about building wins, like making tons of money and business and all that. Well, that's a part of it, yes. I mean, I love what I do. I love building business, but when I talk about building wins, when you and I talk about building wins, we're referring to all kinds of wins, right? Whether it's family wins, personal relationship wins, spiritual wins, health and fitness wins, business and sales wins. Because I've always had this theory, and I've talked about it before too, is wins don't know the difference from each other. My theory is you throw a win on that virtual win pile, and they all kind of broil around together, and they just keep growing wins. I mean, it could be as little as you get up in the morning and the first thing you do is give your wife a little peck on the cheek and say, "Oh, let me make you coffee for you. You look great today, by the way, baby." That's a win, right? They'll be on
That's a win.
now. In my case, she'd be quite surprised and say, "What'd you do with Randy?" But but with that said, but it's a win. It's a win. Call up Uncle Fester that you haven't ever talked to in 12 years and just say, "Hey, Uncle Fess, I just wanted to say, hey, you okay?" Right? Those are all wins, right? They don't all have to be just sales oriented wins.
I think that the viewers need to know that when you looked at me and were trying to think of a name, you come up with Uncle Fester, and I am offended.
Well, in today's world, it don't take much. So I've managed to do it after all a year and a half, 2 years of knowing each other. I finally offended Wes. Wow.
If Kojak or Curly comes up, I'm going to take offense.
So you don't want me to like all of a sudden just do a whoop, 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 whoop. You want me, no?
Or Mr. Clean.
Oh man. Well, so that's funny. That is actually pretty funny. So, go. What do you want to talk about? We talked about several things. You go first.
Well,
Because
I had two things happen to me this week, Randy, and I love to take ideas that happen in normal life and find some sort of a training from it, like some sort of a what is my epiphany from seeing this. And it was kind of funny because I saw one thing I saw, and the other thing I actually experienced with a friend, and that was the first thing was a guy and I'll loop this back as to how I found it, but I do a podcast every Wednesday called Warehouse Safety Tips. And one of the things that, I try to do is alert people to the things that you do in that one moment that you've done 100 times, 1,000 times, and it's never been a problem until it becomes a problem. Okay.
Right.
And this was that and a lesson at the same time. And it was a guy standing on a scissor lift, literally on the railing of it, and he was reaching for the ceiling. Okay. Now the irony here is, number one, insanely unsafe. Okay. You don't do that because the railing is meant to not fall off the scissor lift, not to stand on. Right. The second thing is he didn't have the scissor lift extended. If you guys don't know what a scissor lift is, it's essentially like an accordion that when it raises up, it becomes easier, to reach whatever it is that you're trying to do. So it extends. It's like a scissor lift. It's not like a scissor, that you cut, but it's crisscrossed. So it's called a scissor lift. But long story short, he was standing on the ledge of this scissor lift trying to reach the ceiling. And the caption below said, if only there were a tool that could help him with this, and the irony is that he was standing on the tool that could help him. So the second thing was, I was talking to a friend of mine and he was telling me how busy he was. And we have very similar paths. As a matter of fact, I used to talk to him every morning when I was in the general workforce. And I would always tell him, I'm heading into the joint, and he was essentially heading in to do, what he does, which in this particular case is he is a appraiser. And so he is always heading into the city, to take pictures and whatnot. And I would tell him, I'm heading into the joint. And we'd always talk, what can we do to, get out of this situation? And so fast forward, years later, now I'm working in the war room here. And he was telling me, he said, I've been so busy appraising that I really haven't gotten anything out. I haven't really done anything for myself. But the irony was, I see his posts every day, several times a day. And the reason why is because even though he's not out there doing it physically, typing every day and finding an image, he subscribes to a service that something I do that will put out the post every day. And Randy, that you and I do the same thing, in addition to me being a friend and producer, director, and all the different hats I wear with you in your life, I'm also a client of yours, so I go through and I guess I should flip-flop that you're a client of mine.
Well, I wanted something changed because I wasn't ready.
Right. So I put things out for you that are going to promote this exact show, and probably will be doing stuff for Source One as well. But the point of the matter is that, my buddy Ed, he puts stuff out, but it's not him doing it. He knows that every day there's going to be something that's going out for him, because this service is something that takes advantage of things like the days of the week. So, the usual suspects. Monday, are you ready to start the week? Wednesday, you're getting over that hump. Friday, hey, it's Friday. And then, quotes and motivation. And then it peppers in things for appraising in that as well. So the point of the matter is that he's not doing it, but he is implementing a tool that does it for him. So the whole point of my ramblings with this is, whether you're that guy on the scissor lift that's standing there, wishing that there was a way to reach the ceiling when you're standing on a scissor lift, which is, moronic and dangerous, from a railing standpoint, with no, harness on whatsoever. If you fall, and OSHA would come by and just, their heads would explode. Right. But, you have to use the tools that are available to you. And if it doesn't matter, you asked me to put this up, and I'll put it up. The world that we live in, and I use two different analogies. One is this one, which is sometime, part-time, full-time. The other analogy that goes with that is here in Ohio, and when you're not in Florida, you're in Michigan, so you know all about this. But there's always snow here in Ohio in the fall and winter and spring. Well, the analogy that I use for it is shovel, blower, and plow. And it's kind of like the sometime, part-time, full-time, in the sense that when you first start out, you have a shovel and you go out there and you work your butt off. Now you graduate to a blower, which is going to make that easier. And now you're blowing the snow instead of shoveling it. And when you get done with that, then you have the plow, and the plow symbolizes being able to go out and hire someone to do it. Okay, where they come to your house and they do everything that you normally would have to do all the effort for. But the thing about that process, Randy, and you and I have talked about this, so it's nothing new to you. But for the viewers, the way that shovel, blower, plow really works is it's got 100 incarnations. Okay, because when you start off, you got a shovel, and that shovel might be a piece of garbage. It might be the shovel that you have to screw, the screw down to keep the end of it from falling off. The handle might be one that every third time you throw snow, the handle comes off and you have to stop and cinch it back on. So you graduate from that to a better shovel that's now, wider, and it's got the little scoop in the middle that makes it easier to throw. And then you might decide, okay, you know what? The shoveling's great, but if I sprinkled a little bit of the ice melt, the snow won't come back after I'm done shoveling. And then, when you start off with the blower, you might have the worst blower of all time. It might be the one that if there's more than an inch, it stops because it can't handle it, or it barely blows. Okay. Or, the next one you get might be the one that, blows the snow all the way into the neighbor's yard. The third one you get might be the one that can blow it across the street. So there's always a different incarnation of that process. And what it boils down to is that you don't start off with the plow. You start off many times with the shovel, and the worst one of all. Okay. And so what I was demonstrating with Ed every day, talking about going to the joint, was that even though I had to go into a position every day, I spent some time working on my dream. Okay. And that sometime led into part-time, where I was coming home at night, and instead of just an hour, I may have put 2 or 3 hours into it. Okay. And then that sometime part-time led to full-time, which is where we're at now. But it didn't start off with that. It started off with a lot of different blocking and tackling, and you just got to use the tools. So I didn't mean to go into a 5-10 minute flurry of stuff, but that those two situations just they sent me away with a training to talk to people about.
There you go. Exactly. And no, and I've heard that numerous times from you, and I never get old hearing it, because it's worth remembering. It's worth keeping that in your head, and because it falls back to that old theory of believing in yourself again. If you believe in yourself, then you will do the things that you need to do, pay the price that you need to pay, work that extra few hours to finally get to that spot you want to be, right? And there's nothing better, I think, than finally realizing I can now do what I want to do, right? I got to keep doing it, but this is the day, right? The day that you said, you know what, Wes Wyatt is going to go to the war room every morning and do this stuff. That had to be one of the most exciting days ever, right?
It was freeing, and freeing in more than one way. And guys that are watching this, please know that Randy doesn't sit with a bottle of wine right now. He's drinking water. I just so happen to be drinking a beer, which is the ultimate freedom on a Friday. Being able to work in this area, and I think I've showed you guys many a times. But the other side of the war room is actually this, which normally Randy's on the screen with a guest, but this is what I'm working from. So this is on the other side of the screen. But is it a amazing freeing feeling? Absolutely, Randy, because I now get to work with who I want to work with, and I have absolutely beyond awesome clients. Whether it's you, I work for a tape company, which is a family business that has many different people involved at different levels that all have their own version of the tape. And I have to tell you, in addition to being awesome, they're my friends. I mean, much like you. I mean, one of the brothers actually helped Xavier and I set up tables and chairs, which leads me to another thing that we're going to talk to in a little bit here that you were covering, which is customer loyalty. I'll give you a story that happened, with that, that is going to lead into that part of the topic. But yeah, being able to have the autonomy and the freedom to work in the war room and do what I want with who I want and how I want is Randy, there literally aren't words for it.
Right. Right. No, I agree. And the passion you have for it, you can tell you're happy, you're excited. A buddy, a pal, a brother of ours just popped on. That's another one of your clients and a friend of both of ours, Eric Bam. Uh, you produce and direct a show for them once every other week, or is it every week? The penalty
We do
box.
it every Tuesday, or actually every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's called the Penalty Box Live. You can go to / the Penalty Box Live here on Facebook, and check it out. But I do that with two of our Megamind, which is a mastermind that Randy and I are fortunate enough to be in. That actually Eric Bam, that we just put up there, created. But it's him and another one of our Megamind members, Tim Lord, that do it, and I'm behind the scenes on that one as well. Mm-hmm. Amazing people that we have brought into our lives by doing nothing more than being open, to learning new things. And Eric put together a group of people that are, in my personal, humble opinion, second to none.
Right, right. And the amount of stuff that we all learned together, especially at the start of this, when we all went into this whole COVID pandemic, lockdown, end of the world stuff that we've been going through, none of us knew what to do. But this group that Eric put together, we came together and man, we supported each other. We found answers. We brought in guest speakers who some of them became members of the group as well. And like you said, if you engage and engage and engage, and I think that's huge, that we just have to engage in all aspects of our lives, right? And what's Eric got to say there? You can read it better than I.
He said, someone said to me this week, you have an obsession with pizza. I said, yes, I do. My obsession allows me freedom.
Well said. Well said, Mr. Bam. But, so he's another one of those that's found a way to love what he does and do what he loves, right? This happens to be in the pizza world, which at times sounds certainly more entertaining than screws and the weird junk I do sometimes. But with that said, I love what I do and do what I love. And when you do that, Wes, just like you do, I have asked two aspects to my life: my rep agency work, and when I travel a lot. I travel hard. I've done several in the last 3 months of over the weekends, out. Now I do some family time in there in between with seeing grandkids and that, but it never gets, I say, gets old occasionally, but I love what I do. So I can't wait to get up the next morning and do it. And now I spend a fair amount of time doing these sort of things, doing our show, doing guesting on people when they invite me, a lot of social media stuff. And that's a whole nother game. But man, it's just fun. And if you find things that's fun, it's not work, right?
No, I mean, it certainly isn't. I can't even imagine not doing this. But, you brought up a really interesting point, Randy. And I know we've talked about this. And again, guys, some of this is going to be a rerun for you. But, Randy will walk around, a convention or a get together. And when he looks at the people who are doing video, or not doing video, I should say, the number is so insanely unbalanced for the people that aren't doing it to the people that are. I'll say, Randy, how many people were doing, one-on-ones or product highlights or something like that? And the answer was, 2, 3. And I'll say, well, out of how many? Are we talking 2 or 3 out of 10? And your answer was, 2 or 3 out of thousands, or at least hundreds, at the very least. And so when you combine someone that's willing to do video and kind of get out there, and that's where you get your hybrid, Randy moniker, is you decided that instead of going out and just shaking hands and being that, you know, smile and dial and, you know, car door and you know, uh, flying around the country and all the different things that you were doing, you decided that, you know, during COVID you were going to do this and still get the word out and become a social media warrior as opposed to a road warrior. And yeah, so you got someone like yourself, and then, you know, I don't want to keep stroking him so much, but he knows I love him for this, just like I love Tim Lord for it. And that is the people in Megamind that are at the top of their game. We have people who are in everything from sanitation to finding people jobs to crafts to, you know, Eric with pizza to you with, you know, all the different, you know, pole barns and roofs and the things to hold them together, to someone like me in social media. The common thread with all those people is they are evangelistic, and they're the people that are willing to go out there and put themselves, you know, in this situation like this live and tell people, you know, from the top of the mountain about pizza, about, you know, pole barns, about crafts, about finding people jobs, about sanitation, all the different things, to the point that, are we the smartest people in the room? Probably not. But the one thing that we are is the people that are in the people's face over and over and over and over again, to the point that when people start thinking about the sanitation, crafts, you know, finding people jobs, whatever it may be, we then go from being facial tissue to being Kleenex, from being cotton swabs to being Q-tips. We become brand nomers for the things that we do. So if someone's thinking about pizza crust liner, you know, they don't think about perfect crust pizza liner. They think about Eric Bam. Okay. It's immediately, he is the guy that's going to come to mind, because he is on everyone's mind, constantly bombarding them with, here's perfect crust pizza liners. Here are, you know, this, here's that. This show's going to be here, to the point that he becomes that, you know, Dan Rather or you know, Walter Cronkite that we had as kids. You know, you went to them for the news. You know, I mean, they were going to tell you what was going on. And so I think becoming that brand nomer, that evangelistic person for whatever it is that you're doing, if you're not doing it, you're going to be shying the shoes of the people that are.
Right.
Just fact.
Well, and I think, and I want to go back to, we'll go back in a minute, because we've wandered a long ways already, but it's it's that willingness to engage, right, and that willingness to put yourself out there, as you said, and it's all about building that personal brand. It's not just enough to be, hi, I'm Randy and I sell XYZ company, right? That's important, but what's the first thing they want to know is, who is Randy? Really, who is Randy, right? Who is Wes? Who is Eric? Who is Tim Lord? And I think, and I hate to give Eric Bam so many plugs, because I don't think he's going to send me a pizza for this, but maybe I can give you my address, Eric, if you need it. Is that if you give, I was on a podcast this morning. It kind of goes, this ties in. I'm segueing into what Eric asked about the industry, and I don't know that I consider myself an expert in a lot of things, other than I do know my metal roofing and pole barn world. I'm learning every day from people like yourself, and uh, this whole social media and virtual and all these things. But I can tell you this, and Eric, this is kind of an answer to you. I do way more of it than 99% of the people do in my industry. I try to be evangelistic and bring these people along, because I believe in it. And I was on a podcast for this morning, a recorded podcast for one of my big distributors, and we was talking to all their sales team inside and out. And one of they wanted the whole concept is, let's not talk about product, because my guys kind of know what you sell, right? You've been with us 20 years. Let's talk about the shows and social media and where you go, why do you do it, why do you believe in it. So we did the whole podcast just based on that. And I think that's telling that, you know, obviously this is the director of that part of the business. They understand, right? We've got to do it. And my point of all that, circling back, is I made a statement there that I truly believe is, websites will never go away. You and I are actually working on my website. We're going to be doing some things to tie together more, right? Here we get busy, but we are. But website or social media presence now is what the website was 15 years ago, or I don't know how many years. If somebody couldn't find your website, they couldn't find you. You sort of didn't exist a little bit, right? And I think it goes a long ways today with social media and stuff. Is especially with the younger folks that are coming up. Uh, if I've heard about this, somebody mentioned this Randy guy, and he sells some screws or something. If they can't find me on social media, I don't exist, right? I just don't exist in their mind. And I think the important thing, and thank you, Eric, for the spot on. This is another one for you, brother, is 80-20. And he's often preached this about 80% of your time on social media is more personal. Who's Wes? Who's Eric? Who's Randy? You know, if we didn't know Eric, which we both do, we still know who his kids are, and we know their age, and we know his new house. Because he puts that out there. So if I decide to buy a pizza franchise someday, who's the first guy? Forget the fact that he's a friend and a brother, but who would I call? Because I know Eric Bam. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense. It not to make a joke here, but you know who you gonna call? Ghostbusters, right? I
Right.
mean, so how did they get the moniker? Who you gonna call? You know, it's the oh, there's a ghost. You know, with the fake ghost,
Mm-hmm.
and you know who are we going to call? You know, and I mean with their goofy commercials and all
Right.
the
Right.
different things they were doing, and you know, so people until they saw those commercials on the movie, they didn't know that they could call Ghostbusters. You know, so and you are so right. You know, with Eric, it doesn't matter if it's his girls, if it's his new house, if it's the car he bought, you know, whatever the case may be. You are invested in his life, and you know what happens when you try to be mean to someone that's smiling or say something mean when you're smiling. You know, try to say something really, really mean while you're smiling. It's hard. You know, it really is. It's a
It
tough
is.
thing to do. It's a very difficult thing. So it's kind of like when someone is talking to you and they go, you know, isn't that a great idea? And they're shaking their head. You'll look over and the person that you're talking to will start shaking their head.
Right.
You know, they're
Right.
agreeing with you before they agree with you. And the
Right.
reason why is because you're going, am I right or am I right?
Right.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
they're going, uh-huh,
Yeah.
uh-huh. You
I was
know,
just nodding at you.
yeah, and the reason why is because that is something that when you put that out there, it's very difficult for them to go, you know what? I'm gonna save 2 cents. I'm gonna kick Eric to the curb. But the thing that they don't realize is that the competitor may not be ready to answer the phone, you know, on the second ring, you know, like Eric does. They may not know that Eric is going to put out a post that is real about, you know, happy birthday for their kids, or I can't believe your oldest has graduated, and they mean it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so are you saving 2 cents or are you losing Eric? Okay. And the reason that I say that is if you're losing Eric, you're losing what you really are doing this for. It's kind of like my moniker. You know, I told you that if you can't have a moniker or an elevator speech that's 10 words or less, you really don't have one. And I told you what mine was. You know, I coach people to sell themselves, not what they sell. Okay.
Right.
Exactly 10 words, but it was
Yep.
10 words or under. And it is exactly what I try to do is I don't want you to tell me about, you know, source one. I don't want you to tell me about perfect crust pizza liners. I don't want you to tell me about our friend Kellen. I said we were talking about crafts. Hers is cards at Wow. So, you know, I don't want you to tell me about that stuff. I want you to tell me, you know, the problem that you solve. I want you to tell me
Mm-hmm.
the solution, you know, that you bring to the table. I want you to tell me the you know benefits that you bring to the table, the things that go beyond that product. And every single person that we deal with in this group and the people that we lift up the most, whether it's, you know, someone that's you know, small change like us, or you know, a published author like a Ben Gay the third, you know, that he is literally, you know, doing nothing more than serving. Serve, 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 serve. There's really not a right hook in the jab, jab, jab. It's more serve. And the reason that he's doing that is because Ben's going to die empty. It loops back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the call. He's not going to go to the grave with any info. Every single ounce. It's like someone's got a rag and they're wringing it out of him. So and I'm glad that we're there to catch it, because gosh, I got to tell you, the people that I've mentioned on this call, this podcast, they're salt of the earth, awesome people that if you don't put your ear to the track when they're talking,
yeah,
you're missing out.
You're missing the train, is what you're doing.
So Eric said he's blushing.
He is. Well, that's probably because he's 3 Cabernets into the afternoon already. So maybe as we so we don't talk all day, because you probably want to go have a weekend. One last thing I want to touch on quick, and anything else you want to, but we talk about, again, pre-show. What do you think about the term customer centric? What do you think about the where we are today, coming out of COVID? Which I really am getting tired of that word, but coming out of it still. Have we lost some of that in some cases? Have we gained some in some cases? But don't we really, really, really need to be focused, probably more now than ever, on being customer centric? What's for the customer? Because and then I want to hear what you say, because one thing I hear a lot that I think this is a Jeffrey Gitomer-ism, I believe. But when something along the lines of, well, it's not our policy, or it's against our policy. Well, guess what? You know what's against my policy? Doing business with you anymore if you don't take care of me. That's my policy, and my policy always wins. Why? Because I've got the ever popular credit card, right? Am I wrong? What do you think?
The worst thing that you can ever say in any business is that's the way we've always done it. If there's a rule or a regulation at your location that tells you that you can't do something for a customer, and somehow or another there's a way that you can do it, shame on you. And the reason why is because I was telling you before the call that I used to work for Verizon Wireless, and I worked in what was called a loyalty or a retention department. And what we would do is contact current customers that were already, customers of Verizon, and find out what we need to do to keep them happy, and, refer other people to do the same. And so it was, just something that was ingrained in my mind that, find what you can do, not what you can't do. And if somebody says something, there's absolutely no reason to sit there and argue over, let's say somebody in Verizon's, case, and this is going to, kind of date me, because I don't think there's a whole lot of plans out there like this anymore. But in the beginning of, using smartphones and whatnot, and especially in the form of texting, which will come a little bit before the smart stuff, if you didn't have a plan, they were about 10 cents a piece. And you really don't think about this as an adult, but kids will send thousands of texts. And I wish I were joking. 1,000, and so that doesn't sound like a lot until you say the 1,000 texts or 10 cents a text, and the kid didn't know it. The customer gets a bill that is, literally they think that they're looking at pesos instead of, dollars, and they about fall over, and they start to, what did and they're pointing fingers, and the next thing you know, they realize, oh, it was, our teenage daughter who decided that she was going to be hooked to the phone, it was an appendage or something. And so they would call up and they would just be absolutely livid. And, it was so much easier to say, you know what, we're going to credit it. Just please don't ever let it happen again. I have to give you the warning, that if you do it again, it's not going to be covered. But you know what, let me take care of that for you. And is it easier to do that, or is it easier to make them so mad that when they get off the phone, they wouldn't care if the other competitor was double the price? They'll go to them just to spite you. And by the way, you being, me or whoever took that call, they're a peon in the grand scheme of things. Okay. Right. It's not the company that the person is really mad at. It's that person they were just talking to on the phone, but they don't realize that. You know, in the heat of the moment, they're going after Verizon thinking that it's Wes. And so it's something that you really want to think about, you know, when you're out there representing whoever it is. It doesn't matter if you're doing a janitor work or if you're the CEO. You better watch your P's and Q's, because if you don't, you know, you're going to represent something for that entire company, and you can't unring a bell. You know, once you've done something, it's very, very difficult to bounce back from it. You know, so it's paramount, you know, that you treat every single interaction like you really are the CEO and your job depends on it, because it probably does.
Probably does. Well, and you what you just talked about is a term that goes way back in time, but you can win the battle and lose the war. You could have collected that, you know, X hundreds of dollars and just insisted, and probably you would have collected it, and then lost a customer and all of their family and all of their friends and everybody they told, right? So you win the battle, but you lose the war. Why do sometimes in I'm no military genius by any means, but why do sometimes retreat, pull back, dig in for the night is a better route than just marching straight into the fire? And that's what you would have done if you'd have just insisted. That's our policy. And they said,
it's stepping
fine.
over $1 to pick up a nickel. I mean, it's not what you want to do. And the other thing is that you need to treat every call like it's the only call you're ever going to get. Yeah, I mean, not like a next year, or, you know, I need to get so many calls or whatever the case may be. You need to treat that call like that customer is the most important thing. And if you do, they probably are going to return in kind. Okay, so they're going to do things like stick with you when the competitor's offering something that, you know, that they wish they could have, or whatever the case may be, because they know that if something goes wrong or if they need somebody, hey, I spoke to that Wes. He gave me his number and said to call. And then when they call, they might get a message that says, hey, I'm on a line, but, you know, if you allow me to call you back, you know, I'll be right back. And then you do, and they'll say things like, oh, I never expected you to call, or something like that. I'll be like, I gave you my number. That's what I want you to do. And then they're like, man, you know, they're the real McCoy. And so I think that at the end of the day, Randy, the things that we do, you know, so far as putting ourselves out there, you have the concept that you need to keep in mind that everything you do should never have a flip to it. Yeah, you're not doing it to get accolades. You're not doing it because you want to keep a customer. You're not doing it for any reason. You're not expecting anything in return. You'll have the absolute best life ever. Yeah, because some people are gonna walk. You're gonna say something like, "Hey, how you doing?" And they're gonna look at you like, "What's your problem?"
Right.
You know,
they don't expect that, do they?
No, they don't. Some people will just, you know, but that if you let that worry, you know, guide your whole day to where that one person didn't say hi back, and then now you're rude to the other 10 people that you pass. Well, I mean, that's just silly. I mean, that's drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. Yeah, I mean, it's just dumb.
Exactly. Ben Gay the third, love you guys. Love you, Ben.
Is Ben Gay the third not the best?
He is the best. He's going to be on again in a few weeks with us, sometime in June, I think.
He is, and you know, if there's somebody that knows how to pronounce Dale Carnegie, it will be Ben, because he probably, you know, dealt directly with him.
Yes, he probably did. Well, he dealt with everybody else that's ever been anybody, you know, the living legend himself. But I always get that one mixed up because I've heard it both ways. I took a couple of Dale Carnegie courses in my life, so apparently they didn't teach that part because I'm not sure which it is. But
well, one of the best stories that we've ever had was a Dale Carnegie story from Ben. So I think it is Dale Carnegie. But you know, the one book that Charles Manson had in his cell was How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yes. So absolutely, you know, berserk that would be the case. That is Dale Carnegie, right?
I think it's Dale Carnegie. I
Yeah,
think it was.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it
it
is too.
was. Yeah, it was. It
So
was. But catch up a couple before we wander out of here. So Nicholas Burns is on. That's a great segue because we're going to still do it at the end. But yo Nicholas Burns. Two things. One, he's going to be on our show next week, and we'll still do the official run at the end, but we're going to talk about stuff that I know nothing about, which is a lot, so the door's wide open. But but also he happens to be, and Nicholas, don't cancel the show because or the guest appearance because I out you here, but he's also the son of Eric Bam.
bam.
Bam! Can you believe that? But Nicholas is a great young man, uh, and we're going to talk. Oh, tell now we're going to talk a little Bitcoin. It's something I know nothing about. He's in my industry now as an estimator at a construction company, but he's also kind of a young gun guru in the world of Bitcoin. And I thought Wes, it'd be great to have him on because if there's probably other people that will catch us live or on. Yeah, we'll do it now. We'll get it out of the way. Much better looking than his dad, I will say. But
So he'd almost have to be.
well, that's true. That's not an accomplishment, Nick. Really, now that I think about it. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting because I just like to know new things, and I don't know if I'll ever be involved in that or not. But I don't know enough to say I would or wouldn't. That's my problem, right? And so I think that'll be interesting, exciting, and but anyways, I know you've been cordial with your time. Is that the word I want? That's also a little chocolate candy, a cordial.
Yeah,
Call that thing?
chocolate cordial.
I would like a couple of those in a glass of Cabernet about right now. But anyway, I digress. What's up this weekend, buddy? Before we get out of here, anything fun with you? You heading out of town or staying close?
We are doing our probably maybe the mid. I'll say the middle of all the graduation parties. My son graduated from high school this year, and we have went to I think 3 or 4 already, including his. And now this weekend is, I think in one day we've got 3, if not 4, and probably, oh my gosh, lots and lots of miles because one of the family members is a long way off. So, but yeah, we're going to be doing lots and lots of grad parties, and so there's going to be lots of amazing food, probably cake, cookies, and maybe a few libations.
Yes.
That are
Perfect. Cake, cookies, barbecues, hot dogs, chips, potato salad.
all the above. All the above.
When my boys were back in that age, and a few years after, you always got those several years of the kids that graduate around them, right? I always liked that because I could always use the excuse. Here's my sales guy coming out of me. I use the excuse that I'm going to eat food at every place because it would be inconsiderate if I didn't, would it not?
That's right.
I mean, if these people put the money, the time, the effort, you're always hungry, Eric. If I put the money, the time, and the effort, if they did to make all this stuff or to bring it in or whatever they do, I think it's totally disrespectful that I don't participate.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the other thing is that most of that stuff's kind of like by the time you get to the next one, you're hungry anyway.
Well, yeah, exactly, because it's been like 20 minutes.
And there's always room for ice cream and cake. It just kind of melts around everything else.
It does. And in my case, I'm a barbecue fan. Good old barbecue with baked beans. There's always room. I don't care what.
Eric put something up that is so true, and you did it at the beginning of the call, Randy. And I'd like to say the same thing. He put thank you to all those that gave their lives so we can complain about our problems. Two things about that, probably several things. So I probably won't be able to stop at 2. But first and foremost, all the people that lost their lives in Texas. Having kids and being around kids in all the last years of having kids in school, I can't even imagine what those people are going through. I mean, it's gut wrenching. But John Addison, and I think I've told you this story before, Randy, but he's just an amazing guy. And one of the things that he used to say when he worked at Primerica was if somebody come and said, we have a problem, he'd say, as a result of this problem, how many people are dead? And they'd look at him and go, well, none. He'd be like, then it's not a problem. If we can throw a check at it or throw some time at it, it's not a problem. It's just something we have to do. And when you start to think about somebody that's not going to be able to come home to the noisy house of having a kid or the teacher that's not going to be there anymore or the stuff like that, that's a problem. Our soldiers, past, present, and future, that are literally giving their lives and if nothing else, putting their lives on the line for us to basically live a really good life. It really doesn't matter if you are in a palace or if you are living in a tent. If you woke up and you got air in your lungs and you're still here with your oxygen habit, life is pretty good. Yeah. I mean, you survived the worst day of your life every day that you can talk about it. So I agree. He put problems in quotes because, if you guys know nothing about me, and one of these days you'll learn, the whole story behind it. I'm not going to go through it today, but never say it can't get any worse because it so can. Exactly. When you think life has got the rock bottom, you'll find out that there's a basement and all sorts of things that go down as deep as the Pentagon. So, Eric, you could not be more absolutely spot on. And man, I just can't give enough thanks to the, like I said, past, present, and future soldiers and military and first responders and just everybody, that's involved, for giving their, like I said, in some cases, the ultimate sacrifice.
Right on. Well said, Eric. Bam. Well said, my friend Wes. And with that note, I think we should just remember, like I said earlier, I'll say it one last time, as we have fun and just to kind of tailgate in and then get out of here. I always try, and I get wrapped up as much as anybody. 3 days to screw off and mess around and go eat and drink and have fun, but you just gotta take a minute and a half and just remember why we get to do all this, right? And
absolutely,
because it is not free.
No, it's not.
Big cost, super cost, and we get to do it. We get to love it every day. We get to live it and love it, own it, like I love to say, because that's what we get to do because of that. So, Wes, my friend, and everybody that jumped on today and who will jump on later, thank you much. We appreciate you as always. And as we kind of already talked about, we got the one and only Nicholas Burns on next week, and I'm going to take notes. I may not even talk. I may just sit and take notes from the professor himself. We'll get some learning done next week, as they say. What do you think, Wes?
It's true, and I've had a call with Nick about Bitcoin and crypto and whatnot, and he knows his stuff. So we're going to definitely have some fun with it, and I'm sure at some point, not only us, but maybe even some of your clients and stuff will be probably taking Bitcoin just because it just seems like that's where it's going. So it'll be an interesting talk.
I'll take some now and I'll figure out what to do with it later.
I got some. And not only while I was talking, Nick actually sent me some. So after he did it, I said, what was this that you just did? And he goes, I sent you some Bitcoin. And so I turned around and doubled what he sent me because I figured, not only was it kind for him to do it, but I'm not going to let him tell me, what he's doing for free. That's not right.
There you go. All right, buddy. Well, I'm going to get out of here. You're going to get out of here. And hey, have a great weekend, brother.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, friends, we won't even need to run the bumper at the end because we've already sort of said who's coming up next. So, and since Wes is the producer director as well as co-host today, I guess just get rid of us, huh? Is that what's next? I guess that's what we do.
Sounds like a plan. And I will put up our show credits. And until we talk to you next week with Nicholas Burns, have a dynamite day.
Yep. Cheers, all.